Well, thanks for coming to today's session by Splash BI, the power of cross-application reporting. My name is Mark Ramos. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Splash BI. We do have offices here in London, but I'm based out of Dallas. So I made the trip to visit you all. Excuse my funny accent. Hopefully you all can understand me. I'll try to talk a little bit slow. And you also have my credentials up front in case any of you want to ask questions or send me notes later on. We're also staged up right here next door. Just a quick look at our agenda. We'll talk about a little bit about positive deviance, and then I'll jump into a couple of different use cases within marketing as well as HR in terms of bringing in disparate data across applications and the benefits that we get from that type of reporting, and how we can use that as a competitive advantage. Then we'll kind of wrap up with some lessons learned, Q&A, all of that good stuff. Before we get started, I would like just a show of hands, IT folks, analysts, marketers, a lot of analysts, HR, good mix of folks in the room. What I want you to take away from this is cross applications, access to data, management of data in your particular realm. And I hope it's relevant, even though some of the use cases may be a bit outside of your department. I think the lessons learned will be very valuable for all of you in your specific roles. And I'd like to start off with a story. Has anybody ever read the book, The Power of Positive Deviance? Anybody familiar with that? It's a pretty fantastic story about a gentleman named Mr. Sternum, James Sternum, that did a study of youth in Vietnam, malnourished youth. Statistically speaking, there was a large number of youth throughout Vietnam in the early 90s that were malnourished. And he was called upon to basically say, hey, can you fix this in 2 weeks? How do you solve world hunger in 2 weeks, or even a country, or even in a village? Well, what he did, along with his wife and crew, was they looked at the villages separately, not as a whole, but separately. And they looked at the data, and what they found with all of these children, many of which were malnourished, there was a small group, a deviant group, that was very healthy, incredibly healthy, living in the same conditions as their neighbors in other villages, but these kids a small percentage were very happy, healthy and happy. So what they did is they did some investigation, looked at data, did some interviews, and what they found out were the kids in the villages that were healthy did things differently than the rest of the country. And it was little bits of gold that was hidden in the data. What they did differently was the parents of these children would feed these children 4 times a day as opposed to twice a day compared to the other villages. The other thing they found out is they were feeding their children not just rice, but rice that was mixed in with certain things that were within their environment, greens, bits of shrimp, bits of crab. Now the other villages looked down upon this practice because they said, no, kids just need clean rice. Well, in fact, it was the nutrients in this blend that gave these children better health, as well as the frequency at which they were eating the same amounts led to being a healthier lifestyle. So what they did was they took folks from these villages, introduced them to the other villages to help them make a social change based on the data that was available to the group. So the answer was right in front of them the whole time, but it wasn't communicated out. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The data is right in front of us. We all have pains, we all have requirements, we all have problems. The data is there, but how do we get to the data quickly and get to the answers? Now, before we jump in, here's some questions I want you all to think about. How much time do you spend on your reporting? Are the answers provided in a timely manner? What are the obstacles for you to get to that report or even get to the data? And at the end of the day, do you have the insights necessary to make the decisions? So think about that as we go through this presentation. And is the data working for you? Now, in my world as a CMO, 15 years ago, I had a window that wasn't quite this cool, but the message was the same. My staff and I would go to the board every Monday, and we would just put in generic data that we would pull from Google Analytics, from our website. We would get data from our marketing CRM, from our marketing automation tool, which is Marketo, and data from Salesforce.com. We would get the highlights of the data, and we would plot it up on the board. So we would manually get it, manually mash it up on the board to see where we're at, to see where we rate against goals and so forth. It took probably 2, 3, 4 hours a week just to do all of this just in my department. With Splash BI, the beauty of it is we have the ability now to take all of that data, so from Marketo, from Salesforce, from Google Analytics, so we can now tell our story by unearthing that data immediately. So we don't have to do the manual processes anymore. And at the end of the day, at any given point in time, I can look at not only my website traffic, but my website traffic from Google, how much of it is converting in Marketo, form fills, and then from those form fills, how many have converted into an opportunity, Salesforce, by region, by rep, real time. The value there is I know what's working on our website, I know what content pieces I need to invest more in, and I know what's not working. So I'm making a true impact not only in my business decision making on how I'm going to lead the team, but I'm using data to drive my results. Now I'll tell you another use case in HR. We worked with a retail firm, women's clothier in the States. They have about 2,000 stores. Of the 2,000 stores, one thing that is really a large pain for any retail is high turnover. If anybody's in retail, you know you're fighting for great talent, but the turnover tends to be high in that industry. And as we sat with them, as we looked at how we could possibly overcome or help the hiring process, we uncovered something that they didn't even realize. They had used Taleo for the recruitment system for their online applications. And then candidates, after they filled out the online application of Taleo, they would go to a Gallup survey to put in their other personal information to see if they're a cultural fit. Well, what we found out was that with 2,000 stores, individuals would go not just to one store, but they may go to 10 different stores, one down the block, one in the next zip code, and apply for the same position at 10 different stores. Well, you can imagine, because each store did not know that was happening, you had stores bidding on the same talent. So a candidate could get 10 different offers from 10 different stores, and the stores were outbidding each other, they didn't even know it. The other side is maybe 5 of the stores saw something within the Gallup poll or within Taleo that was a red flag and they didn't want to hire that individual, but there may have been 2 or 3 stores that pulled the trigger. And what it turns out is obviously bad hires may have also happened along the way. So if you can imagine this, thousands of hires a year, good hires and bad hires, outbidding talent over here, you may be overpaying for talent, or the cost of hiring bad talent. With Splash BI, we brought all of that data in so that every store had access to every applicant, and they could see how the other stores graded them and what offers were out there, so they could synchronize their corporate story as a hiring process. They could have a unified front. Instead of 10 different stores, it's one. And it literally saved them hundreds of thousands just in recruiting and hiring. It's fantastic. And here's a tidbit about, it's kind of an eyesore, but I can send it to you, but some of the reports look like, and it was accessible by all of the units within their organization. So as you look at reporting, here's some questions I want you to take home to make sure that you can do this. That cross-object reporting, that is huge. Within Salesforce, we may capture leads, and we may create opportunities, and we may capture activities. 3 different things that are not interrelated. But as a marketer, I want to know which leads are being called upon, how often are they being called upon, who's calling on them, and who has the quickest net return on converting those activities into actual opportunities. So it's a real business application for pulling in cross objects to tell your full story. Instead of doing it individually or looking at each line item separately, look at them together as one report. Multi-level drill downs. You may want to look at something and be able to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the cause or effect of that particular report. So on my blast, there was no way to drill down. It was, here's how many leads I have. In Splash BI, here's how many leads I have, here's where they came from, here's how much it cost me to attend that show, and here's how many calls affected that particular lead. Huge, huge. Dashboards, visualizations, Excel. I think it's always nice to have the availability to still work in Excel. Some folks hate Excel, but they're still, and I'm one of them, I love Excel. Yeah, it's great that I have these, don't laugh at me. It's great we have these visualizations, it's great that I have these reports, but there's certain things that I still love to do in Excel. So wouldn't it be great, wouldn't it be magical if I could have these reports in HTML, but also have an Excel format to which I can interact the way I want to, because I'm kind of old school that way. You want the best of both worlds, have it. Cross-application reporting, scheduling and distribution. The cool thing here is you may have thousands of folks within your organization that want reports, but you may not want all of them to drill down and do all of their own reporting or get access to the data. So wouldn't it be cool if you had the 10 experts, your 10 analysts, your 10 BI experts that serve the reports up and are able to schedule and automatically distribute, and it's on their desk the next day or real time? Awesome, awesome stuff. And then snapshots of your data. Look at the trends over time. The ability to capture what's happened for me in Salesforce and Marketo this year compared to last year, compared to the year before. It's a great scorecard for me. Now I know I'm running a bit out of time, so I'm going to go fast because this is really important stuff here. Here at the bottom are lines of business, myself in marketing, somebody else in HR, somebody else in Dallas, all broken up regionally. Reports are fantastic for your group, but the key to success is how are you using your cross-application reporting, your cross-object reporting, your analytics? How are they affecting the business, the mission up top? My advice is focus on things that, yes, make you shine, help you do your job, take away the pain, but when you can take that pain and sell it upstream to say, this is how I in marketing am affecting our mission as an organization, that's where analytics, BI plays a critical part in you, in your career, and in your department. So don't focus down here. Focus down here with the mentality of how am I going to affect what's up top. And I'll send this slide out. I could go for an hour on this slide, and I'd love to talk to any of you about it, but there are different things you do along the way. But working down here, impact the top. Big message. And in the end, what that's going to do for you is that is your competitive advantage. I'm going to run these reports, I'm going to watch these visualizations, I'm going to capture this data, and the reason why Mr. CEO, Miss CEO, Miss CFO is because if I do this, if we can spend 50 more thousand pounds, I was going to say dollars, that doesn't work here, 50 more thousand pounds on 2 more shows for my man Graham here in the UK, but it's going to net me $5 million, which CFO is not going to give you 50,000? They would take that trade all day long. Or in HR, if you give me this system that will help in recruitment, and I can hire 5 times faster, train 3 times better, and retain these employees, who isn't going to invest in a system for X number of thousand that's going to deliver you millions? That's the message I want you all to think about, is the power behind true cross-app reporting is not just to make your jobs easier, but it's to reduce costs, increase, predict future outcome, or lower cost. And that is the story. If any of you have additional time, we can give you a demo over here. We're also doing a putt for dough, hit the prize, win some cash. So learn some stuff, make some money, have fun in the process. And I'm going to leave you with 2 thoughts. Produce the hidden insights, just like Mr. Cernan did. The hidden insights in the data. He was solving world hunger. We're just trying to run our business a little more efficiently. Not quite the same. I'll solve world hunger, put that above anything else all day long, but the premise is the same. And then the lessons learned. Number 1, when you go to look for a BI solution or a BI path or your BI journey, don't try to do it all at one time. Grab 2, 3, 4 things that can make a difference in your department, and those 2, 3, 4 things that can make a difference to the organization's bottom line. It will be signed off all day long. And then when you're done with that, you do 2, 3, 4 more things, and do that for the rest of your life. That's career longevity, that's job security, and BI never ends. That's the beauty of it. Analytics reporting never ends. It's only there to make you better. So you may become 10% better this year. Next year, use the same reporting, the same tactics to become 10% greater. The second thing is culture. The mind shift within your department is the reason we are running these numbers is not to babysit you. The reason we are running these numbers, running these reports, is to show how you fit within the organization and how you impact the organization. So not just the department, but remember up at the top. New hires, millennials, they need that type of vision, that type of career path, and that kind of fit. And it's all within the data, it's all within the numbers. My name is Mark Ramos. Thank you so much for your time.